So our form is made, our plexi is all cut and placed in, and now we have to fill the joints between the plexi with caulk. I'm using a crystal clear acrylic latex caulk plus silicone, Alex Plus. I would actually recommend to use a white caulk because when this stuff dries it gets clear and you can't exactly see where all the caulk is very easily. You need to see the contours because remember, when the concrete sets and cures in this form, it's going to take the texture of every little crevice that it comes in contact with. So if there's like a little bit of a bump of caulk, that's going to show in the concrete countertop. As you can see here, when I put this caulk in, I'm trying to make it as small of amount as possible, just filling those cracks so that the concrete has like that little smooth, rounded transition from plane to plane. So yeah, to put it on, I'm just putting a bead of caulk. Not a very clean bead, unfortunately, because my caulk gun is a little dirty. Didn't cut it very well. But a small bead of caulk across the whole seam. And then I keep a wet rag. And I just wet my finger a little bit. And then I just run it like this. And I take the excess off frequently onto my rag. And you can see that caulk setting into that seam there. Okay. So it's important to work quickly with this because it starts drying pretty quickly, and you need to rub off all the excess with a wet cloth before it starts drying. It's night and day. If you do it immediately, you have a much easier time. So, take my wet cloth, start going down the line. And I'm purposely not applying pressure. It's controlled. I'm not applying pressure into the seam where I want the caulk to stay. I'm applying pressure on the two sides around that seam. Alright, so on the last step here, I just try to clean that edge off nice and clean, or rather second to last step. Okay, so I just put some tape here. I'm trying to experiment with my screws because I want to try to keep the screws as minimal as possible. So here, this piece of plexi was falling in, so I'm using a piece of tape to hold it against the wall instead of screwing it in like I did over here, because I want the front face, the most visible face, not to have any imperfections whatsoever. So I'm still experimenting with how to hide those screw holes really well. So the last step is, after I get off all the excess, you gotta come around this side. After I get off all that excess caulk, I'll just take my finger slightly damp and just kind of clean that seam. If I get any excess on my finger, I clean it off regularly. Trying to smooth it out, make it as uniform as possible without messing up, without getting the plexi all dirty again. And I do that all the way around. So I still have a couple of those to go, but in the meantime I'm going to show you how I do the screw holes. Again, I'm still experimenting with this, but I've just been putting a dab on top of the countersunk screws, a big fat dab. Like that. Then I work it in with my finger, just kind of swirl it around a little bit so it gets all into the hole. that. Alright, so after work those in, just take a razor blade and I scrape off the excess. Like that. When I wipe off the razor blade after every time I do this on this damp cloth. So the caulk shrinks a little bit when it dries, so I'll probably do these screw holes a few times over and over again until I work that caulk up to the surface of the plexi.